In Hollywood, nothing ever occurs, for no reason. Not dinners, not run-ins, not even mysterious Instagram story reposts. And in early March 2024, there was a banquet in Brentwood that looked like nothing. Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, Sydney Sweeney. No press, no tagged posts, simply a grainy photo on a casting assistant's private tale, 3 women, 1 candle-lit table. The kind of smiles you give when something's already been decided. Sydney didn't post anything, but her face spoke everything. Nervous, grateful, like she understood this was a room she wasn't supposed to be in yet. What she didn't know, this was a warning rather than a pitch supper. Because Ree had just 48 hours before received a call, not from a buddy, but from a brand partner, but from a producer, and the call was brief, and we are listening to Blake's Sydney is crowded with individuals, looking for something. It's moving quickly, which was the main message. With only one icy fact and no context, Blake Lively had made it inside. Reyes didn't panic during the chat. Contacted Nicole after noticing this trend, prior to Blake's alignment with "they are being" used by younger actresses to develop female boss optics, followed by the gradual rooting of the return of focus to it didn't always blow up for her, but the younger actress was always there when it happened. Vanished initially. So when Sydney received she was unaware that the dinner invitation was a rescue effort, and Ree merely said that without saying much else. This: if Blake's group gets in touch, be happy, courteous, then send it my way. The word is Nicole, and Reese had already made plans. Before Blake, something with Sydney. I can't deny that this smells like a proactive measure, and only a reminder each deleted tweet that contained a false statement, and it takes hours to cobble together a PR cover-up. If you wish to support this channel in maintaining, going to press the join button and turn into a member, will continue to reveal what they will. The communication arrive in less than 72 hours. Hours following the meal, not from Blake. It originated from a source other than her agent. A half-hour stream development executive, informal yet perhaps harmful email to Blake's team, sent in a twin lead concept deck, Sweeney's limited series. Attached, no warning, no mention of Reese or Nicole. Note that this is only a glossy pitch deck, identified and in use already. At the same moment when Ree did her, Sydney observed, I didn't sign, but the text came right away. I have no idea what this is at all. However, Reese didn't respond since she already knew exactly what it was. Blake's actions in 2022, including attaching herself just in time to arrive, appear to have been her project. Construct the sort the papers later, optics first. Blake's name appeared that week in Sydney's 3 internal memoranda. Didn't. The articles were then silently fed to Blake's team's media under anonymous sources. Is so quick that this project is frightening. Wasn't even talked about 2 weeks ago, and she is now circulating decks with Sydney contacted Nicole after attaching. But Nicole remained silent, but not because she was disregarding her, since she had already gone on what they said on the phone with Ree. Was this what a producer leak claimed? For now, she outperformed us, but we have the next 90 days due to the Hollywood press quarters makeup cycles, and if Blake desired the story, they would now allow. She only had it long enough to pull later. The floor out Nicole didn't do. Any interviews or go online. Reposts without denial, but after 3 days, Blake's project revealed a change. Nicole had a lengthy variety panel. Been scheduled but abruptly rescheduled silently. The panel makes no announcement. Meant to include her Reese, and to it was removed by anonymous female creators. From the website of Variety before anyone observed, with the exception of Nicole and Ree, were scheduled to make an appearance alongside next week. Variety's Women in Power panel, Blake's whole thing simply disappeared. Coincidence? The project was leaked 3 days ago. The Sydney Sweeney team that same day ceased responding to emails without confirmation, initiatives that were not denied when she disappeared from circulation. The Hollywood lingo for don't say anything or take action, since she had received one piece from Nicole. Of counsel made her believe she had won. In the meantime, Ree had already turned on an additional brief internal memo passed through 3 organizations to it appeared to be a hideaway to outsiders, but Ree was walling off her goods within. Establishing the scene, so if Blake was preparing to run alongside the story, after which Ree and Nicole were heading to manage the consequences, Reese Witherspoon, according to insiders, just pulled 3 meetings that were planned to incorporate Blake's upcoming project she's playing. Not playing quietly. She celebrated a phony long and Blake, a post on strong women on brunch papat, encouraging one another, and one very edited caption. There's nothing that moves faster compared to women who help women. Nicole saw the post, but neither of them saw it. Enjoyed it. However, a member of their group took a screen grab and forwarded it to Variety. Subject, please mark this for the upcoming quarter. Blake Lively was everywhere for 3 days. Early PR walkthroughs and teasers disclosures regarding a top-secret prestige project. She was growing up with an unidentified Gen Zer actress, but she posted something strange. From a behind-the-scenes carousel, perfect lighting for a photo shoot. With curled hair, a caption with soft focus that said, "Crafting tales with ladies I respect that depict life." 20,000 reposts across 5 industries on average, accounts mentioning it on the due date. Perhaps an Apple tag this time, but nothing. No comments or posts from the stylist. No tags from Sydney, according to the showrunner. Most revealing of all, there was no reshare from Nicole doesn't like Ree, and she's even neutral. Outlets that typically performed well remained silent. Yes, you all saw Blake's no one reposted the new promotion, such as the Glam Team, which isn't the same message applies to PR weariness. A Slack screenshot was released inside a Blake's brand thread collaborates with a high-end fashion brand that the purpose of the thread was internal. However, after it was shared, there was the first real retraction. One of the Blake had collaborated with hairdressers for years, silently removed 2 previous shoots. No explanation, no remarks, just left the one of them featured the caption, "Women who constantly defend women." Now, blank Blake's preferred stylist removed her photos, plus took her tag off of 2 occasions. This reminds me a lot of Reese-coded Nicole. Blake observed her and stillness spreads like a virus. Team became aware, but when they contacted, they did not receive statements for their answers. They received receipts that were screenshotted, and one covert email that was released to the cut stated, "Although not all women are supported by us, support one another initially," but Blake didn't panic, thinking it was a malfunction or something. Incorrect algorithm timing for a week, so she did what was always effective prior to her double down a second post. This one a video of her strolling over a studio lot, hair blowing in slow motion caption. The noise isn't the main focus regarding the piece. But the remarks weren't rolling in as before, and then one of them struck more forcefully than anticipated. "Look at me. That new Blake footage is giving working vitality. But where is the labor? Where is the trailer co-star?" Reese, at the precise moment when Nicole was sitting in a locked room when she dropped Apple TV, plus his door pitch session is not with Sydney, but with Blake, but with an up-and-coming independent actress that nobody had. Additionally, Blake's project has the tiny silent room had no paparazzi, announcements, and the idea that they pitched almost just like Blake only attempted to co-opt. This time, the Nicole's name appeared on the script, as Reese's business and executive producer was mentioned in the back-end notes earlier. The project was a replacement, and Apple adored it, and in a day they added the idea for their Q3 preview schedule. However, the important detail was not made public. The title was just added to an internal schedule, and someone disclosed the suddenly, insiders began to waiting to put things together, isn't that the Blake was floating on the same pitch a week ago. However, Nicole, she isn't even attached. Reese simply remade the project. Variety discovered it without her. Blake's group called Apple, but they received no call back, after which the stylist was contacted. Blake used Savannah 2 years ago. Take out the person who just styled Nicole. That stylist also didn't respond. As the sector wasn't changing, it was just moving against Blake. Without her, Blake wouldn't have been cut. The fact that she was never featured simply strolled by her. It began with just a single Instagram story with no caption, hazy image of the third level of a bookcase A writing with the title appears in the far right corner. Was obscured, but two names remained. Nicole Kidman, Sydney Sweeney is visible. Wasn't shared by Sydney. Instead, it was shared by, it remained up for a costume designer's 45 minutes before to deletion, however not prior to a screenshot being taken of it. Nicole's new script citing in Sydney same style as the Reese on Instagram project from the previous year, but Blake Isn't Twitter was featured in this movie within hours. Someone unearthed an ancient, unverified Flames pitch deck from 2023 that appeared uncannily alike. Ree was simply mentioned this time as co-lead, producer Nicole was attached. And Sydney wasn't meant to be not involved at the time, which indicated that this was a new revision of Blake and the replacement weren't involved. Blake's Group A attempted to manage the A press outreach email was sent out in the aftermath. 3 reporters from the industry said it had a Blake is still focused on the bullet point list. On stories that are female-led, she's putting creative direction ahead. Of Sydney's visibility as a close friend, but nothing has been verified, yet everything is changing, just one reporter answered, and their response was harsh. I respect the notes, but damage control isn't what this is. Peace, Blake's moment is simply not here. Nothing has been verified as of yet, but everything is PR term for changing, as we lost the role, and nobody informed us of the situations in which Sydney didn't speak. She didn't even publish or tweet. Observe the Instagram account of the new show. However, that was the purpose of Nicole and Ree. Weren't creating a buzz, they were keeping it contained, because occasionally the most important statement is absolutely nothing, but everyone else speaks for. By the end of March, the sector was no longer muttering about Blake. They weren't standing up for her. Condemning her, they simply weren't bringing her up at any red carpet function. Blake arrived styled after coming and going. Flawlessly grinning broadly, but she didn't. Almost no trend images were shared. No official stylists reposted her style. In the meanwhile, accounts even tagged her. Nicole's group subtly shared one still from a woman's new project, another standing in while sitting on a porch, the doorway without hashtags or names, but supporters recognized her as Sydney, and Nicole just plummeted, and Blake wasn't there. One picture from her most recent series isn't even a trailer, but it's louder online. For that, instead of Blake's full rollout, this is a calculated quiet. Blake's squad attempted to change course once more. They spread a rumor about a recent development. Blake is negotiating to lead a future modification of a bestseller, but Variety failed to meet the deadline. Buried was picked up by just one blog. Between 2 simultaneous ad placements, Ree was seen at an Apple TV Plus at one point. A shadow is more talented than a pitcher. Executive, who wasn't giving a presentation, was seated at a different table than the main one, noted as paying attention to creative direction. The title was a non-existent 6. It meant everything a few months ago. Since Reese was not returning to, she was constructing the new one in the spotlight. For everyone else, and in regards to, Nicole posted without saying anything. Nothing, however, she did go to a movie panel. When questioned about mentorship at USC. After a moment, she added, sometimes you simply move instead of pushing someone forward. Move aside and make the space clean. Just the type of quote with no names or drama that silences the entire audience. Nicole's statement regarding Blake. Don't dispute with me. She let Sydney to enter and shut the door after her since Blake wasn't excluded in the end. Instead, she was outgrown, with no scandals or headlines, just a new room, and she was no longer in it. It became official in the second week of April. Blake Lively hadn't shared anything in 5 days. Advertisements, behind-the-scenes footage, Or even a nothing but a hazy motivational quote, and the problem is that no one questioned why not a single outlet made contact. Where is Blake? Not a single blind item on TikTok questioning whether she had been harmed because everyone was already aware, and even worse, Blake had already moved on and didn't receive canceled. She just received gradually, subtly, and gracefully replaced like a, "You are unaware of the power outage until the one of Blake's previous PR screens goes dark." Friends a man who is renowned for asking for nice profiles on a podcast, he paused at that moment. Stated, "She constructed an image. However, you are unable to construct anything around oneself, then attempt to exert control over the climate." After that video went viral, Blake was no longer the primary character. She was used as a case study, and Sydney Sweeney appeared in a campaign in which she never advertised anything but a behind-the-scenes shot in another person's narrative. Her name was not marked at all, but the picture went Sydney essentially just made it through everywhere. The entire situation she remained silent, and still received the screenplay, the role, and gaining Nicole's approval is the key to success. She was seen during a meal with Nicole, casting head at a 24 no push, no caption, but the image is still fuzzy. As much vigor as her meal with Sydney 1 month prior to the circle's completion, Ray's had retreated into the shadows. Nicole was constructing something under her guidance. It featured the new Sydney, and Blake she wasn't even asked to attend the subsequent dialogue. No drama, no cancellation, only a phone ceased working April 14th, 2024. Ringing without a teaser, just a silent upload on the countdown, the heritage of the Apple TV Plus press site. Hello Sunshine's new limited series developed by Reese with Nicole Kidman in the lead role, Sydney Sweeney and Witherspoon. Don't Blake. Didn't quote or launch a PR campaign, but within 11 minutes of inheritance, the tendency unexpectedly released a teaser, and Sydney is the epitome of a southern city. Narrative without a filter, gloss, or Blake, the 1-minute teaser, has no dialogue. A woman strolling through a dusty farmhouse, walking barefoot on dead grass while holding a piano key, Nicole's voice then breaks the mid-note. Not all legacies are passed down to you. They must be clipped back to black. Although Reese wasn't shown, her name was the third credit, as well as the following caption from the Big Little executive team. Lies is a recovered narrative that is similar to that Blake was removed without coercion or by controversy, but by something more detrimental. She was not included in the list of the papers never cited the pitch deck. It wasn't mentioned in any casting archives, as though she had never worked on the project. The frightening thing is that they didn't obstruct her. They simply left her out. At all, you'll know it's finished. One of the original's behind-the-scenes photographers on set for Blake's rendition shared a single picture privately only close. Friends' account of the picture Blake grinning while wearing a full outfit at a scene that was never shown on screen, just a blurry comment in the caption. Without her, they constructed it beneath, and on April 21st, 2024, it worked this time. The official trailer for the Apple TV Plus is out. Nor a teaser, nor a still for inheritance, a complete cast list for the rollout title card, Sydney press statements and soundtrack drop, and Nicole share cinematography credit. It feels like anguish and dust. An executive and a writing staff led by women, credit to Reese Witherspoon as producer without being seen on camera. The caption, "Not everything that is inherited is desired." And once more, nobody mentions Blake's name. Blake lost the genuine gag, isn't that right? That is the version of the project that features her. No longer existed at all. They rebuilt. Blake took it from the bones that same evening. Shared a selfie without a caption. No PR tag in the comments. For the product placement were courteous. Some fans inquired as to whether she, all right, people just posted hearts. The majority of the industry remained silent. Since Blake had not vanished, she simply did not participate in the discussion. Reese has stopped commenting about Nicole. Never acknowledged anything else than a week later, Inheritance had its private debut. Excluding photographers when screening for reviewers only the story, only the screeners, and the A woman enters a room in the last scene. Examines a picture that has been removed from the saying, "It's not missing, it just no longer belongs here." Fade to that final line of inheritance is dark. Everybody in the room looked at one another. We were all aware of the subject, and Blake didn't even feature her in the show. Attend the Emmys in that particular year. She wasn't thanked, wasn't nominated, invited, but you are aware of Nicole's identity. Sydney Ree, who that evening was inquired softly about the experience of returning to the awards season, she grinned and remarked, I simply stopped clapping for it, but I never left. Those who attempted to use the microphone,